Welcome to episode number 2 of the UGB podcast with my homie Sawyer from FNG Precision Coatings out in California, and my buddy John, the professional bull rider, bullshitter. I feel like dog shit today, so I'm going to try to cheer it up a little bit. Sawyer's had a rough day, and John's going to bring us all together and make sure we don't completely bomb this. Hopefully we got our audio. We hopefully got our audio issues fixed from the last one. And
John, give the viewers a quick tour of the stained glass work in your new joint there for the day.
Yeah. Well, here we go.
John's coming to us from the house of the Lord.
I am. We have a unknown individual carrying a baby sheep, which I believe he's going to go club to eat later. And the few sheep down and to his right all appear to be under the influence because 3 out of 5 have their tongues hanging out.
I want whatever they got.
Simple observations, boys.
so I say we jump right into it and address the big deal in the news here lately with the Boulder shooting. I mean, first off, the media, the typical media, jumping on the bandwagon, of it's a race crime and things like that. It
went racial really quick.
And it's a shame more than anything for the people, the victims.
There's a quote or a tweet or something that I saw today. I'm trying to find it right now, but it was by I'm just gonna assume someone that's obviously anti-gun. They said yesterday I made the assumption that the shooter was white, but today I found out I'm wrong. Let's not give any credence to this guy. Let's not make him famous.
I posted that.
Let's focus on the victim. Yeah, I saw it on MOA and I saw it on your page, but that shit right there. And then I sent another one to my buddy of mine. It said the mass shootings in Florida on the rise, mass shootings in Missouri on the rise, mass shootings in Tennessee on the rise. And it was all different states, same headline, same news thing, just targeted towards creating fear in people that are already fucking scared, locked in their houses, dealing with.
How fucking convenient was that?
Say again?
How convenient was that? I mean, because I saw that deal too, all the same headlines. And I mean, it's so blatantly obvious at this point. I don't understand. I've been where I used to hate conspiracy theories, just despised them, 10 years ago. And as I've gotten older, I mean, I am the atypical tinfoil hat wearing asshole now, but I don't understand how you can't be.
What I guess, guys, what gets scary for me is the recipe was predicted prior to.
Oh yeah.
I mean, dude, where we were 2 weeks ago, be it on the gram or Reddit or wherever it is you choose to get on and digitally bullshit with your friends across the country, everybody was calling it. And now, you start to wonder, does it become a product of group thought? Or is it really, guys, that we are in a position where things have gotten so scary that this is a tool, I don't know what else to call it, that this is a tool of some de facto or some entrenched government organization? I mean, did this guy work for the government? Did somebody push him to do this? Or was this just a natural act by a psychopath?
And see, and fortunately, but unfortunately, I've just been so damn busy. All I get right here lately is I see a headline, and I haven't had time to delve into any of it. I don't really know any details other than it was a Syrian.
Syrian, correct. Yeah. Syrian,
so
and once no lawyer and nothing known beyond exactly the same as you reading headlines. Syrian immigrant, semi-automatic weapon of some kind.
We don't even know what weapon for sure yet.
I don't. His brother had apparently notified police in the recent past that he was scared that his brother was playing with illegal automatic weapons. No action was taken. And then this happened.
That
You know what
happens
really-
a lot.
You know what
too.
gets me though? You know what gets me is like going back to what we were talking about with the posting on social media about, oh, now that he's not a white guy, it doesn't serve our purpose. So it leads me to believe that if it was some type of, what do they call it, like a false flag attack, or where they
But-
prop up a
but-
shooter, right? Well, I mean, they got to use a white guy, right? Because we're all evil. So if it's not a white guy, well, then it was just, let's honor the victims. Let's not shine the light on the guy. And then 2 weeks from now, they're going to keep pushing these facts and figures that it was some disgruntled white dude. And that's what I really take offense at that, because it's like, you look at the statistics and you see, let's just domestic violence for an instance, there's just as many cases of female perpetrated violence against men as there are, and actually more. And but the guy, you get the police called and it's like, well, they automatically assume it's the guy. Well, is this going to be the new trend now? Are we going to just, if there's ever a shooting, it's like, look for a white guy. It's some 50-year-old white guy, guaranteed, because that's what we've learned on TV. And it's like, well, fuck, dude. How do you know? I mean,
What I wonder, guys, is look, like Las Vegas wasn't that long ago. Let's be real.
Yeah.
If we really want to talk about weird shit that's gone down with these shootings, I mean, like, guys, there's audio engineers that come out and have done deep analysis, scientific analysis of the audio files on that. Like, you want to dig into something that'll make you pause and stand back. I mean, there's one where I would have thought that the gun grabbing community would have snatched up and ran with, and we can talk about bump stocks and all that kind of dumb shit. I did see something today come through that bump stocks, I guess, are going to be allowed again, but I thought you had to give them all back. So are you allowed to just now have one again that you found? I don't know. But I start to get, I guess, the only reason I question these shootings is you look and you go, look what happened in Las Vegas. And guys, there's no answers about that. Think about how many questions there are as to what really happened on that one. Being guys
they close the investigation. They close the fucking investigation.
Yeah.
Like, you think that they didn't get an answer, they would still keep trying to like work on that shit. But
yeah. Where do you start just seeing case files close? Well, guys, we tried our best. Let's close the case.
I think it was less than 2 years and they just shut it down.
Man, they know. I refuse to believe that. And I'll tell you what, I'm not going to say who, but I've got a friend, a pretty close friend of mine that was there at the shooting in Vegas. She's about to graduate. She's a physician's assistant, and she was there on the ground. Then she went and worked for 16 hours at the hospital. She was an RN. She went and worked at the hospital responding to people that were injured at that thing. And I'm not going to tell her story, but I'll tell you what she told me, and she comes from a pro 2A family, and what she told me and what you hear on the news, just, they don't add up. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. She's still affected by that tragedy to this day. And I feel for her on that, because must have been a horrible thing to be a part of, and for all those people that were hurt. But people hear this shit, and if you got a lick of sense between your ears, I mean, come on, guys.
And that morning when I woke up and, all the video and stuff was coming out, cell phone footage and all that shit. I don't know that you could call me an expert, but I've been around enough fucking automatic fire, machine guns and shit like that. I mean, there was, I listened to that video over and over and over that day, and there was clearly multiple rates of fire. And and I've been around the bump stocks too, and something didn't smell right about it.
It sounded to me like a crew serve style weapon, belt fed, sustained rate of fire.
It was belt fed.
And a larger caliber, I'm gonna say 7.62. The report and the sound and the reverberation and echo in that area, you know, and then you heard, I don't want to use the word talking guns, but I'm going to say that there was overlapping fire, and all of a sudden you hear
Yep, exactly.
and I'm no expert either, but I've been around a few automatic weapons in my day, and when I hear the cycle rate change from large caliber to smaller caliber, it's like I'm no audio expert, but I've fucking read a few books and listened to a few things. So I mean, and like I said, dude, I don't have the answer. I'm just as bad as, you know, I don't have an answer. I just have suspicions, and I'll just leave it at that. So
I mean, we're kind of going away from the Boulder deal, but not really.
Oh,
it's all the same. It's all the same.
Well, here's a good one on the Boulder deal, guys. What do we do? Because I look at that community and I try to, like I did on our last talk, you know, I try to look and I go, what do we do other than bitch and go, everybody wants to take our guns? What do we do to try to get the general public to understand that had the existing laws that are on the books been enforced, had any number of small things taken place prior to this, chances are we wouldn't be in this position. Number one. Number two, how do we get people to understand that saying that the three guys sitting on this call right now or on this meeting are all law-abiding, gun-toting citizens.
There it is, John. There's the thing. And here, you can't.
How do we get people to understand
cuckoo?
That you can make whatever gun you want, laws you want to. Criminals are always going to have guns.
Yeah.
The common sense portion of it is criminals don't follow the laws.
Yeah. Anybody got a 3D printer? Jeff, I know you do. Bloop, hit the print button. Next thing you know, there's a fucking lower. And what are they going to do? Start regulating the spools of the plastic? Are they going to, you know, and we touched on this in our podcast that we tried to do last week. And I mean, look at California, as over-regulated as it is with the process of buying weapons for legal law-abiding citizens to do. And then you got a guy that just decides he's going to go down to Ace Hardware and get a couple pieces of steel tube and make himself a burp gun, you know, or a slam fire shotgun. What's stopping him from walking into, you know, any Winco or any grocery store and just fucking laying somebody out? You can't stop that. And the only way, in my mind, the only way you can stop that is conceal carry. I think.
Why conceal it? Why conceal it?
Whatever your flavor is. I'm just saying, having more good guys like us, and you know, I'm not saying I'm fucking Superman. I'd be shitting bricks if somebody started firing at me. I'm fuck. What do I do? You know, but at least I got a fighting chance. At least I got a way to, you know, go out fighting. But you know, I watched the video of that Colorado thing and everybody's like, what's going on? What's going on? There's some old man standing in the fucking door. And it's like, dude, get down, get out of there, get off the X, man, you got to get out of the, you know, and people are just
get out of the box
on their phones. There's people on the ground dying, bleeding out. Nobody's doing aid. Nobody. And I'm not going to play armchair quarterback here, but it's like, we got to teach people how to respond, how to get people safe, because this ain't ever going to end. And you know
so
what?
I haven't even seen the video, but that doesn't surprise me in the least bit.
Oh, that's the part that
Sawyer, do you really think that that's where we're at?
I think that all those hard chargers out there with tourniquets on their fucking buttstocks should have responded and you know, gone in there and done some stuff. But Colorado's
you're in Boulder, and I don't know that there's a lot of them. But guys, I'll tell you what my personal philosophy has always been is what you talked about. Get off the X. Avoid being a target. And I got to be honest with you, Sawyer. If I'm in a grocery store and a guy comes in and he starts laying them down, if he ain't pointing the gun at me, my first order of operation is to escape and evade. Boy, my ass is out.
Yeah, get the fuck out of there. There's no reason to be
out.
We talked about this offline about the about being in the movie theater, and it's like, dude, you got to get to cover. You can't fight if you're dead, and if you know, and you can't give aid if you're hurt. You know, you can't do a lot of things, but doing nothing at all is probably the worst thing that you can do. Correct. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be some kind of tactical fucking genius, because I'm not. But I can tell you right now that it's fight or flight, right? And you need to get out of there. Yeah. So get to your vehicle, get to your weapon, get to a phone, get to the police, but there's dudes literally standing there. Look at the video. There's an old man in the doorway and he's like on his phone. And I'm like, I'm just waiting for this guy to get shot. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I guess my carrying a weapon in that situation, you know, or the movie theater or whatever, is some shit's going down. That weapon is to get my family to safety first and foremost, and not to save the day, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember the the Texas church shooting?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where everybody I mean, that was like, in my opinion, and again, disclaimer, I've never written any books on tactics here, but like, I just saw the response and it's like, you know, people got hurt. Yeah. But they put that guy
They drew down.
Good guys with guns will always beat one bad guy or two bad guys with a gun. And, you know, I love Texas. I was lucky enough to be stationed there for a little while. I had nothing but positive interactions with the people there. And my favorite thing about Texas was the FBI came in and the sheriffs came in to give the brief to the guys that were, you know, we just got there. And they're like, listen, do not run from us. We will shoot you in the back in Texas. We do not care. You will die tired. It was like, you know what? I like it here. You know, you guys
going back to the church thing though, that thing would have got really fucking bad in a real big hurry had it not been for the good guy with the gun. I mean, because didn't that asshole have a fucking shotgun?
I don't know what he had, but I just know there was that the synagogue shooting, right? Another church shooting that didn't go good in Christchurch. You remember that one?
New Zealand.
Yeah, and that guy. Let's just put it this way, man. That was a tragedy, and not a lot of people, I don't think, made it out of that one. But nobody had any guns. Only one bad guy. So it's like unopposed. You know, it's like even a 1 versus 1 situation, you got a better chance. You might wing the guy and make him think twice. You know, but the Texas thing, you know, everybody in that church had a gun, and it was just a matter of time before they smoked that guy. And
so I want to ask a question to you guys, see what your thoughts are. You know, let's say we're back in the 60s and the 50s, and today in our day and age, we're to the point where we got to put a lookout guy in our fucking church, you know, at all the exits in case there's a possibility of a fucking wacko coming in. Did they have that back in the 50s? I mean, people weren't doing that shit and they didn't have to worry about stuff like that, did they?
Well, guys, hold on.
There
I think
was.
we talked about this episode 1. I think you had a different time and a different climate. My granddad talked about taking his deer hunting rifle to school with him because they'd all go deer hunting after school. He'd walk in. I mean, you had a generation of people who were much closer tied to firearms. I think if you look proportionately at how many people today reach the age of 21, having never actually heard a live round go off, it'd be pretty high.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, and you've also got a bunch of people that are, you know, I think exposed to things a little bit differently than our grandparents were. You know, I come from a pretty wild family, and you know, they'd tell us stories about flying a Cessna over the farm and shooting their shotgun out of the Cessna deer and shit. And it's like, if you do that now, you're gonna have
ATF's coming.
Yeah, I can't even quantify the kind of response that would happen, but it'd be crazy. But they, you know, they would bring, like you said, they'd go, you know, we're from a rural area in Michigan, and, you know, it's in a lot of acreage, and, you know, you got to have a weapon. And they, like you said, they'd take their guns to the store, they'd take their guns everywhere, but nobody did anything with them. And I don't really have an answer to it. To me, if I ventured to guess, I would say we have more media. We have more people on prescription drugs. I think we have a higher stress environment. We've got more unemployment. We've got all kinds of factors. You know, oh, you're sad? Here's a Xanax. You know, back in the day, if you were sad, it's like, buck up, buddy. You know,
yeah, I mean, because there's been a lot of fucking semi-automatic rifles and handguns for decades, you know. I guess that's what I'm getting at. What's changed?
Think about this. I mean, in the town where you're at, you may still see it. I still see it on occasion in farm trucks in my town. we're not talking like we're that far removed from a gun rack being an accessory to a pickup truck.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean,
You know what I mean?
that
I
kind of
mean,
goes along with my point, though.
yeah, I don't know what happened. Where did we get that disconnect? And I think part of it comes that we do as a society, guys. Like, I mean, look at what you and I hate to be the moral police, but like, look at what is socially acceptable, be it video games or movies or online shit. I mean, like, guns are most people that I ever take shooting that are tell me how much they hate guns and how dangerous. They're just afraid of them from what they've seen. They've never handled a firearm. You put a firearm in their hand and all of a sudden people's eyes light up and they're like, wow, okay, this is cool. I get it.
Yeah, it's hard to have a bad time just going around dicking around shooting. I mean,
I think I told you guys this, but place where I live, they've got like a HOA kind of thing. And I was talking to one of the guys that's like in the office that handles all the relations here. And he had a basketball, he's a Knicks fan. So I was like, all right, dude's into sports. He's probably into guns. He might be a cool cat. So I just, being me, just tried to spark up a conversation with him. I was like, hey man, you into guns? And like the look on his face, man, you'd think I just offered him a Hustler magazine in public. He's like, oh no. I actually hate guns. And I'm like, have you ever shot a gun before? And he's like, no, man, I grew up without guns. And I just, my family's not into that. And I'm like, well, I'm happy to show you, happy to teach you. And I don't talk to the guy now because he was so like, I literally it's like, I really offended him by even bringing up the subject. And I told him, I said, look, man, I'm an FFL. That's what I do every day. I handle guns every day. He's like, oh my God. Oh, he just couldn't, dude. And this is a grown ass man with a beard. And I'm like, he's 30 some years old. And I'm like, dude, how stunted of a person do you have to be to fear something that you've never touched, you've never interacted with? He's getting all his information off the internet. Oh, guns are bad, guns are scary. And the dude just forms an opinion with no experience. I think that's fucking the definition of being dumb. Like, he has no experience.
Speaking of the media, then the perception that they give off, let's look at the perception that they try to portray us as the and I'll even go a step further with that, just the radical gun owner. But us three, and there's a lot more of us that are white, that we are the radical white gun owner that is just this fucking close to being a blatant racist, according to the media. I mean, how do we still be strong in what we believe in and not seem so radical and dominant? I don't know if it's possible, but
well, let me compare it to something else though, Jeff, because I had this conversation with somebody while I was down visiting Tennessee this last week, and it's not pertaining necessarily to firearms, but it's pertaining to the violence that's been in the media. You got the BLM guys burning down an AutoZone because somebody died in a police interaction, but then you've got them comparing the Capitol Hill insurrection, and they're like, oh, those guys, and I'm like, what about the BLM guys? It's two evils, right? So, oh well, those guys were protesting, and it's like, dude, until we look at all actions as equal, regardless of race or skin color, there's always going to be an inequality for the person that we're the bad guys right now, Republican or conservative white males are the evil. We are the
you
bad
guys do realize there's a large part of the country that thinks we have zero say in this conversation, right? That simply by us talking about this.
Yes, exactly. And that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's bullshit though. So that's why I'm saying it's until we start looking at things, or those people, they have to look at things objectively, and they can't just, and that's just, I'm going to call it what it is. It's prejudice. And you want to talk about racism. How about the racism? It's reverse racism. You're making a judgment based on my skin color and my occupation. that I am, because I am white, because I am conservative, that I am a racist. And I take offense to that, because I don't just assume that because there's a person of color or a person of whatever, that they are a violent protester. I don't know that. I don't know that person. So how can I make an assumption? That's
Well,
big.
but guys, I think, and I'm not one to police our community. I think everybody can go about this as they want. I think, unfortunately, guys, we do have a large portion of the pro 2A community that tends to act like jackasses and look stupid as shit. I mean, guys, like, look at all the Instagram posts that we send each other privately in our little circle talk, where we're like, look at this, send, and you're like, what in the fuck is this guy doing? Like, this doesn't bode well for any of us. And I'm not, you hate to have that, but the reality is guys, the loud guy, the guys that are loud get that attention. And unfortunately,
It's not good attention.
No, dude, it's not. Like, I want to, and I have reached out to some of these guys and been like, hey man, and I'm just talking like, remember when we had the boog, whatever the fuck you wanted to call it, everybody running around in Hawaiian shit. I mean, dude, those of us that were online knew that shit was like just a raging fucking joke. There wasn't no boogaloog or whatever.
And yeah, it turned into a big deal with the.
Oh, no. I gotta object to that, dude, because I have had the displeasure of talking with people in the DMs, which I really hate to do. Because 90%, most people are cool, but there's a good chunk of people that aren't, and I'm not going to throw any stones, but I'm going to isolate them into one part of the country. And they are so freaking convinced that it's a real thing and that it was some kind of movement. And it's like, dude, I get it. You don't have contact with humans 5 days out of the week, because you're so far down in the bayou, but like, you can't believe everything you see in the funny papers, pal. Like, and that's the other thing too, is I don't think people understand the humor. I think that the 2A community is very ironic and almost very sarcastic in our jokes and comedy. I know ours is. So what the outside world sees and then what they perceive and what the actual intended message is it's just not translating well. And it embarrasses me too. So I don't know.
Do you ever worry about our community? I mean, guys, I'll be honest with you. Like, when that Capitol Hill shit cracked off, I was watching it and I was like, you dumb fuckers are going in that building.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, guys. Like, I think that our rights are getting trampled on and there's all kinds of bad shit. Let me tell you what, and there would never be an instance where I would think that I would be able to storm the Capitol and parade myself around acting like a fucking moron in there, and that there would be no legal repercussions. Now, I'm not saying those people couldn't do it, but for the people that did it and then are like, oh my God, I got in trouble. Fuck yes, you did.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the whole nother tinfoil hat deal in my mind. The whole how they got in and all that, which we could go into that another time. But
no,
with what you just said, go ahead.
I don't disagree with you. I saw the video that the gate, I mean, that they got to the line, and where the line was, literally the security guards pulled back the barriers, stepped aside, and did their hand like this. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but if I was one, I would say they were invited in by the people who had presented themselves as security. But still, come on.
No, dude, Jeff, I'm with you 100% because
you're very smart enough, dude. If you'd have been there, would you have gone in?
Well, let me go into that.
Not, I wouldn't have.
I would not have.
The boiling point wasn't there, and that Capitol Hill insurrection thing was more. And look, we'll probably catch hell for this because it's not popular. But I'm gonna tell you right now, you want to talk about, people have this fantasy on Instagram and on social media about overthrowing and tyranny this and tyranny that. Go ahead and just sit down now, because as soon as something happens, you ain't doing nothing. You're watching on your phone and you're getting bit. It's like the what do they call it? The McDonald's operator guy, the big fat guy with the fries in his thing and his plate carrier. And that's 90% of the audience is people that talk a big game and they're like, oh yeah, I'm ready to, Mullen lobby you. And it's like, dude, you ain't doing nothing. Shut up. Just stop talking. All you're doing is filling the room with hot air. And, you know, the guys at the Capitol insurrection, you know, I think that's a great show of solidarity, but the situation had not warranted that reaction. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, oh, it's stolen.
Bunk, I
You know
want to hear
what?
where you're at. Are you going in or what?
Yeah, I am. And I'm not saying it's because I'm a smart man. It's because I'm not. I had a lot of people ask me if I was going to go to that deal. And I mean, I wanted to, but there's no way I could time-wise. But the biggest reason that there was no way you'd ever find me at that thing is because in the heat of the moment, number one, I could not go unarmed. I just could not do it. So that's a really bad scenario to put myself in, first of all. And being in the heat of the moment and all that shit's going down and you're fucking wound up, I'd be fucking wound up. I see the fucking barricades get knocked down and I see people jumping walls and shit. I don't, honestly, if I'm being truthful with myself, I don't think I could restrain myself because I don't think I would be thinking clearly enough at that particular moment in time. And so, you know, I'm not going to forcibly and willingly put myself in that position to even have that opportunity because I know myself well enough that I do dumb shit, you know.
Same reason I stay away from liquor. I got you.
I mean, and I think a lot of those people are like-minded and, you know, got fucking put up in the moment and thought, you know what, everybody's going in. Why are they going to pick on me? And, you know, in hindsight, well, that's fucking retarded, but
that's a dangerous mentality because the free thinkers in the group, if there was any, didn't have the voice of reason there, and you get mob mentality. And like I just said, I don't believe that there was a justification for that.
No, I agree wholeheartedly.
I think it would have played out a lot better had they got to the doors, the guys all turned around and locked arms and said, here we are. Somebody should have been there to draw that line for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate trying to have an opinion because I know that it's armchair quarterback.
Sure.
And I'd never want to put out the front out there that I think I have the answer. I think it's just my opinion, and my opinion may be retarded. But it is what it is. I just look at things objectively. I'm like, okay, what do we gain from this? What was the benefit of this, and what was the causality? So, you know, okay, if they start going door to door and doing like gun collections and they start, you know, shooting civilians in the street, or we got UN rolling tanks down the road, by all means, go to arms. You know what I mean? If you see, and this goes back to my comment, think globally, act locally. I can't do a goddamn thing about something happening in fucking Iran right now. I'd love to be there to help. I can't do, but I can't. I can only take care of what's
This place is like asking for a fucking work.
Let me, sorry guys, I just had family come in. We're good. Little background noise.
I like that.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah,
everybody
What we were all thinking.
everybody that was at the Capitol was there for a reason, and it's because they were pissed off. I mean, it's a fucking, it's a powder keg waiting to fucking blow. And if it was a conspiracy type deal or an inside job of whatever fashion, it was fucking brilliant because all they had to do was pull down that one gate, and it fucking
Whoever wrote the script for that one, boys, I don't deny it at all. You know, whoever did that did a heck of a job. You know, and they, unfortunately, I think that it goes along the same lines of why guys are strapping stuff onto their weapons and why people choose to use things that we all know aren't worth a shit, is because the gun community, and I'm not saying this community in particular, but I am saying this community in particular, tends to follow some trends that flat out suck.
yeah. I mean, it's easy to do. I mean, I think, I don't know if I told you on that last episode or if it was one of the ones that fucked up or not, but I had the moldy labia charging handle, you know.
Yeah, we talked about that. The how there's the market for all that dumb shit that just gets 3D printed, and you know, you got guys that are buying pop-up sights for their rifle that's a peace sign and somebody putting a thumbs up, and you know, and it's like, man, there's $35 right out the window. But somebody
Yeah.
had it on their PSA build, and there's range, $1 a bullet, fucking in the shitter. So
Speaking of $1 bullet and the shootings and shit that's going on, and the government with their endless gun control measures and bills, how
I wanted to touch on that. Going back to the Boulder shooting, what do you see coming? What do you guys think's coming down the pipe?
well, I mean, there's something's gonna pass. I feel like there's absolutely something that's gonna pass. In the past, when we had the Obama and even some of the Clinton stuff, but mostly the Obama, it seemed like, and I'm not, God, I hate to fucking give the NRA credit, but they did at least unite some people and fight, as to where when Trump got in, it's like they just fucking sat down and they were done. They were on vacation for 4 fucking years. And I don't think we have that now. I mean, I think the NRA is so beyond fucked. I don't know if the Firearms Policy Coalition or the Gun Owners of America are big enough to actually do anything on our behalf. So I think something will pass, and I don't know how drastic it's going to be. I think the Republicans on the House and Senate are all fucking pussies, and I don't think they're going to really fight it that hard.
Well, dude, today I just got a bulletin, and I might be a day behind because I don't log into Droz every day, but I just got a new bulletin from the Department of Justice, and they go, hey, we just passed a new assembly bill off roster, which is basically the guns that are not allowed to be sold in the state of California, that were illegal, but were legal before, are now illegal. The M&P series of weapons, just to give you an example, is M&P 45, the full size. You can't buy that in a gun store here. You can't buy a Gen 5 Glock. You can only buy a Gen 3 19. But there was a clause. If you were the owner of it, Jeff, and say you had one pre-sale or pre-ban out here or pre-roster, you could sell it to me because it was already on the roster, or you could buy from law enforcement. So if a guy like the P365, a lot of law enforcement guys like to sell the P365, they'll buy it, use it for duty, get rid of it, and they can jack the price up. Well, they just passed the bill and it's changed who can buy them into 3 tiers. So now there's 3 levels of more equal than you. So as a private citizen, and I got to read it again just in case, so nobody hold me to this. I just read the 3 pages pretty quick today, but it looks like they're just tightening this noose, and they do it so slow so you don't pull away. It's like, the gun control thing is creeping. It's not an overnight deal. They just slowly every week pass something more and more and more, and then next thing you know, you're like, well, I can have a single action shotgun, and I'm
Death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah. Death by 1,000 cuts.
Exactly. And I was reading that this morning. It made me think about our conversation we had a few days ago when we were talking about all the bullshit that I have to go through with the licensing process here in California. And I'm like, wow. I mean, it's just where, and I get that there's, these laws are progressively getting worse and worse, but how do you as a private citizen, or how do I as a private how do we combat this? Because the decisions are not being made by us. They're being made by someone else who doesn't have the interests of our interest in mind. So
let me ask you guys this. I know that there's different levels of people in the gun community. You've got the guys that they could shoot the shit out of sporting clays, but they couldn't touch a handgun if they had to because they never have in their whole life. You have the other guys in the gun community that think we all ought to be able to get RPGs, or that nothing should be off the table. Is there any limit to where you guys see what citizens should be allowed? I mean, the SBR, short barrels, full autos, big, heavy, scary shit, vehicle mounted munitions, any of that kind of stuff. I mean, how far do you guys really think, A, constitutionally that the Second Amendment goes, and B, practically that the Second Amendment goes?
Constitutionally, I think it goes that we ought to be able to own anything our military should. And yeah, I'm that fucking asshole. I just
I
am.
agree with you, Jeff. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I feel like I'm more conservative, but I agree, because if you can afford it and you can put bullets in it, that's your right and pursuit to happiness, right? Belt-fed machine guns make me smile. And I'd love to, dude, can you imagine throwing one on the Jeep and just going out and fucking some shit up?
Oh yeah.
That'd
But
be
so
amazing.
then the argument against that is, oh, so you think that you ought to be able to have a nuke? Well, if the government's got one, I sure as fuck do. I mean, why do they have it and we don't? Because they don't fucking need it, number one. But I get it. There's more to it than that. I understand.
There is a lot to it. I can't imagine.
And
I
so
would
that's
not
where it
have
comes
one.
into the second part of the question of where does it apply practically? And that it doesn't. I mean, I guess is the best way to put it. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think if you can afford it, if you can pay for it, if I could afford a Sherman tank, there'd be one parked in my parking spot right now. I'd love to have a tank, and I'd love to go to the range and shoot it as a responsible owner. But the thing is like, look at it from the sense of, you want to talk about correlation here. Look at a Ferrari owner. A Ferrari can do way more damage at 200 and some miles an hour on the highway when you lose control, or you drunken driving or impaired driving, and you crash into a family in a minivan. It's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hold on. We got as a community, we got to quit using the car argument, because the first thing they're going to say is, number one, you had a license to operate it.
It's an easy one because it's just something that causes so much
I'm
damage
just
and
saying, I just
destruction.
got into the same argument, and I said that, and the first thing they threw at me was, well, you have to have a license to drive. Yeah, I get it, jackass.
Yeah, you gotta have a license to own a
I mean,
firearm too. So
I think that's a great point. I mean, it's duly noted.
well, whether it's a good point or a bad point, it just makes sense in my mind, because I'm like, well, why can't I have, like I would really love to have some of these really cool Brugger and Thomet, if that's, I hope I'm not slaughtering the name. You know what I mean? I love all the European weird guns and shit. I'm bored with regular American stuff, but I love all the exotics. But I'll never be able to have them here in California when I move the gun stuff down south. That's another story. But I'm stuck in this kind of perpetual want stage, and it's like, I can afford that. Why can't I have it? I would really love to have one. Well, where you live on the map dictates what you can own and what you can't own. And I think that's the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard. And
I'll tell you what was odd for me today. So I came out of the mountains. I'm in the city. We're here for a conference. Driving down the road, there was a vehicle that said SWAT on the side of it. It was like a full-on military vehicle, guys. I'm not talking like an up-armored F-350 or an up-armored Suburban. I'm telling you, it was like the same shit you see rolling through, Ramadi. I mean, it had turrets on the top. It had that V-shaped hull. I mean, like, that's the one that scares me, guys, is the one that I look at. You go, where do you draw the line? Where do you make the threshold? Man,
yeah, what are they gonna fucking use that for?
Dude, you militarize the fucking police. Like, I look at that and I go, I mean, like, I think people in this country forget why the Second Amendment was put there, and it's to protect ourselves from tyranny. Tyranny is not Jeff breaking into my house.
Yeah,
that's not tyranny. Tyranny is the fact that you now have.
That's where the equal, if they've got it, I want it, comes in.
Dude, local law enforcement being militarized, that gets kind of. I mean, you're definitely getting into some issue there where I look and I go, like, man, I mean.
This is deep water.
You cannot regulate us into a point that if there ever was true force on force conflict, that, I mean, your best effort is to go run for the hills and go Wolverine and hide on them,
or just roll over and take it.
Well, that's what they hope for.
Yeah,
is oppression
bullshit.
by fear. It's like, well, they slowly strip away the rights, but then all of a sudden you've got guys like you said rolling around in an MRAP, and it's like, Mr. Bunker, we're here for your guns. And it's like, you look out your window and there's a goddamn Abrams tank, and you're like, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I mean, look, everybody says, oh, go out in a blaze of glory out of my cold dead hands. What about your kids? What about your wife? What about all that? Are you thinking about them when you're putting that out there on the forum? It's like, you ain't doing shit. Shut up, sit down. You ain't doing nothing. Think smart. And it does, dude, it terrifies the shit out of me, because here we've got a lot of that. And it's in every town. It ain't just like you see an isolated thing. Here in California, every county has a Bearcat. Everybody's got up armored this and that. And they've got it, dude. And they use it. And I get why. You know, there's crazies out here and there's crazies everywhere. But, you know, as soon as somebody decides that it's time for them to use it in any way other than the execution of, you know, lawful justice being upheld, what is that? That's just impression of force with no representation, right?
Exactly what it is. It's
And
intimidation.
yeah, it is. And you know, all I gotta be careful how I put this.
You ain't out that
You know where I'm
stage
headed,
yet,
but
partner.
I you know me, I try to keep it tame, but it just, to me, that feels an awful lot like an invading force to me. I don't know if you know, and I got buddies in the police force that I love to death. I absolutely would ride or die with those guys. And there's guys that I can't stand to even look at because I know they're so fucking two-faced and they turn on me in a second. But luckily it's a vast majority of them are cool and I don't worry about it. And I have a lot of respect for them. They have a tough job. But like I said, at any time they decide, or if any time, you know, our current commander in chief decides, you know what, the Second Amendment is no longer applicable. You have 10 hours to come down to City Hall, drop off your weapons. And if you don't, we'll be going door to door to take them. And then what? Then what do you do?
Well,
it's like, well,
here's one. And Bunk, you and I have talked about this a little bit. I'm not scared about them taking our guns, guys. It's the ammo that worries me.
Well, that brings us back to, you know, what are going to be the consequences of all this shit, and what do you think is going to happen? And, you know, I brought out the gun control measures and all that shit. And the ammo industry right now is fucked. And I think a lot of people think that it's manufactured from the ammo companies or from the government or whomever. And I firmly, I don't believe that it is.
They're making money hand over fist.
Right. And they are making money, but
Hell
it's
yeah.
it's not something that they're holding ammo back because they know they can get more out of it. I don't
No.
believe that
No.
at all. I mean, I think it was the perfect storm, and it's going to be a nasty storm for a long time. Number one, just on the supply and demand and lack of availability, which is in turn, you know, economics that raises the fucking price. And then on top of that, I think you're right. I think they're going to go after the ammunition in some way, shape, or form, which is going to fucking make the storm exponentially stronger, in my opinion.
This is what I think I told you last time we were chatting, is that's why I got into the black powder game, because I can go over to the tire shop, get, you know, 2-3 pounds of old tire weights and make my own balls, own musket balls. And,
Yeah, but that's what the Second Amendment was for muskets.
Yeah. So, you know, I answered your
Yeah.
question last week, Jeff, and I thought about it, and you know, I think that to answer your question, I think more people are going to start making their own stuff, because when I started making my own musket balls, I was like, you know what? This is easy. This is way easier than I thought. And obviously that process is very simple. You know, I started looking into the Dillons, the ammo presses, the stations, and they're a little expensive. You know, you're talking 10 grand to get an automatic machine set up. And but I was thinking about it, man, and I'm like, dude, the money that I would save with the amount of shooting that I like to do, and just having the ability, it's like, oh, sorry, boys, you know, Big Five's wiped out. There's no ammo. Okay, machine go, brrr, and now I've got 1,000 rounds overnight. And it's like,
What do you
like
do?
that idea.
Sawyer, I'm totally with you. I actually got, I'm in the process of getting myself procuring a Dillon that'll run 8,000 rounds an hour. All that kind of fun stuff.
8,000 rounds an hour.
It's a hot pot. It's it's got a 50-pound hot pot, man. I mean, I'm stepping up. Like,
I
here's the only
will
thing I
come
run
and
into.
work in your garage for 1,000 rounds an hour, and I will
But
give
dude-
you. I'll make sure that machine runs amazing, buddy. You got
But
no
think
problem.
about bunk, like you and I have talked about it. What do we do about primers, man? What do we do about the components that you and I can't just set up and make?
And that's the deal, because from my understanding, and again, I'm not very high on the pay grade on this subject, but from the people I've talked to, you know, a lot of the raw materials are stuff that comes from overseas in China on the primers, the lead.
There's two mines that actively mine that lead selenite that they need for primers.
And where are they?
I think one of them's like 138 miles from Wuhan.
Okay, yeah, so there you go.
And I think the other one I read was in South America.
So that's a really, really fucking easy call for the government to be like, yeah, you know, we ain't taking no shit from anywhere in that area. So get fucked, gun guys.
Yeah. I have a buddy that makes ammo here in Ventura, California, or Ventura County here. And I was like, look, dude, I need some ammo. I got customers down here fucking freaking out. And he's supposed to get me, you know, I got pre-orders by the thousands from people. And I just had to tell him I didn't have any, because he's like, dude, I got brass, I got powder, I got projectiles. I do not have any primers. He was telling me, he's like,
They're selling for 300, 1,000 online right now.
yeah. He got his from Germany apparently. And I was like, good on you, man. And I got buddies, I'm buddies with the guys that own Prime Ammo. And I was talking with them, Jim over there, not this year, but last year when I saw him. And he was like, yeah, man, he goes, it's hard to get, even before all this stuff, it was hard to get the primers. And that was just common. And you know, I got buddies right now that are looking at making their own primer factories because they see a big demand for it. And,
Well, fuck yeah.
You know, they're like, fuck it, dude, you want to go into the primer manufacturing game? And I'm like, dude, me and making shit that blows up, I'm not into it. You know what I mean? And I don't want to sound like I'm contradicting myself by getting an ammo press, but people don't understand what goes into making primers. It ain't just like a small operation.
That's volatile.
Massive volatile thing, and it ain't easy. And you know, we just saw here in California a whole fireworks stash went up and killed 2 guys. And I mean, it was pretty.
That was in a private house, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I got to be careful what I say about it, because one of the guys that knows us knows those cats. And you know, that was a tragedy for him because they were his friends. But you know, they were professionals is what I'm trying to get a point here. They weren't some chuckle fucks out there, you know, mixing mortar shells together, smoking a cigarette. You know, they had professional storage, you know, and it can happen, man. That's why I try not to keep too much black powder in one spot. I keep all my shit in little, you know, isolated containers, because you get over more than, you know, a few pounds.
So is there
off, dude? There goes the side of my house, you know, and it's like,
is there an opportunity to import, I guess, you know, some Russian steel cased ammo or something like that? Again, I don't know anything about it, but it seems to me like that might be an avenue, because they won't have any of the restrictions that we have. It's just getting it in to the country.
That's where I've been getting all my AK ammo, is buying Russian surplus, because it's still cheap. I even to this day, a month ago, I went to my local gun store and I bought 1,000 rounds for $300.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about like importing mass.
Tens of thousands. Yeah, I'm just saying though, I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure if the guy's got the capital and the paperwork to do it, I mean, we could probably do it under my ITAR. But I don't know. I mean, that's not something I've ever really thought of.
Well, that's the reason I ask, and it's not from a business perspective on my part or anything, but you know, we're talking about what's going to happen with ammunition. Is that going to be a big thing where steel case becomes all of a sudden real popular, and the richest country in the world. You know?
We're all shooting Bear Dan primers, rotting barrels out once a year.
Thank God I sprung for that chrome line barrel, dude, because now I'm just gonna be shooting dog shit every day. I think demand is gonna drive whatever. There's always gonna be a void that is needing to be filled, and you know, we see people buying whatever they can get their hands on. I've got something here that I wanted to, you know, kind of talk about too. My buddy, he's what I'd consider like a 3 out of 10 on the gun enthusiast scale. And he wanted to get an AR. So he got one of these KE Arms integrated butt stock buffer tube system ARs. And he was like, he's so geeked on it. And I'm like, I'm looking at it. I'm running the cycle of operation on it. And I'm listening to it. I'm hearing the buffer tube scratch all the way, or the buffer scratch all the way through the plastic. And I'm like, dude, I highly recommend that you do not fire this thing in rapid fire. Like, it don't sound good. And he's like, this is all I could get, man. This is all I could get. And I'm like, so you bought something that you knew wasn't the best just so that you could have something. And that proves that people will always buy whatever they can get when they are of the mindset that they may not be able to get anything.
That mentality is what's driving this ammo shit. I
Well,
mean,
that's what I'm saying. So people are going to buy the Russian ammo. They're going to buy whatever they can get their hands on, because I'm doing it. I couldn't get AK. I you know, and I like to, you know, we like to shoot. So it is what it is.
Hey
Now,
guys, I hate to have to do this, but I'm getting the look from my sister, who I haven't seen in a long time, and she's the only woman that stuck with me for this long. I'm gonna drop off. You boys carry my weight here for the rest of the show.
you guys
I'll
are
be
in the
back.
wrong state for that.
I'll be
You
back
can
next
go
week.
down to
Love you,
Arkansas.
boys. See ya.
So I've got a lot of customers that they don't think it's going to be this way for much longer, you know, and they're like, I'm not paying $1 round or whatever the fuck it may be. And I get that, not wanting to pay it, but I sincerely believe it's going to be this way for at least this presidential term, you know, another 4 years, if not a lot longer.
I don't know. I mean, if the only thing that I have to draw experience from was Obama administration, when we had another anti-gun president, it was just awesome. You know, gun sales were at their highest, ammunition sales were at their highest. You know, we were selling out of everything that we had. We were dealing ammo back then, and it was a good time. You know, we had Trump for 4 years, and I feel like the industry was a little bit slower, at least on my end. And then as soon as Biden got back in,
Most definitely.
and then as soon as Biden's back in, now it's like people only fear buy ammunition and guns. And I've never understood that. It's like putting storm shutters on your house in the middle of a tornado. And it's like, dude, you prepare for the rainy day in on the good days. And then when the rain comes, you're set up. And I had so many people hitting me up in the middle of the pandemic, whatever you want to call it. Hey man, you got ammo, you got ammo, you got ammo. And I'm like, dude, even if I did, which it's all been sold out, I couldn't get any more. You know, people, I had a guy, private seller, come down and drop off some ammo, and I just put it out there. It was gone in about 10 minutes, 1,000 rounds, and they paid $1 a round for the ammo. And I didn't say a word. You know, free market economy, dude. You've got something, you want to sell it, put the price on it, we'll find you a buyer. Dudes came in, and then they came back. Hey, does he got any more at that price? And it's like, yeah, let me make a phone call, see what he's got. And it's like, and you know, I'm happy for the guy that made his money, because he was prepared and he was sitting on quite a bit of it. And he's like, yeah, you know, he's like, I paid, you know, he only paid $250 for that back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he made 750 profit on that sale on one guy, and then turned around and did it again. He just 2x'd himself. And I'm like, good for you, man. You're living it up right now.
Totally. People get complacent, like you said, the whole storm analogy. And I mean, there's nothing, you're not going to convince them otherwise, you know. they're the same type of people who are going to do it over and over again.
I don't try anymore. I don't try to convince people of anything because it's not my place, number one. And after the age of about 25, if you haven't figured it out, and you're never going to figure it out. And I've got too much on my plate now to just worry about wiping ass all day long. I got employees that are young. I got to corral them. They got their issues. I got family with issues. I got friends with issues, and I try to help everybody, and you get some random guy off dude. I had a guy, he was from inner city LA. He called me, he said, "Hey man, I want to get my CCW." And I said, "Oh, okay, cool. What do you know about the process?" And he goes, "Well, I know I need to come down and take a class and this and this." I said, "Okay, let me start you out here. Do you have your firearm safety certificate?" Which is California's basically, you take a test and they give you this little gate card, and now you've passed this competency exam. Now you can buy a gun. Well, he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't have that. Can I come down and take the test?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, cool." This dude comes down, he drives down from somewhere in LA, and he comes in, and he's, without making too many assumptions, he looks kind of like a gangbanger to me. And before he came down, I asked him to do some research, and I kind of asked him to do some reading and stuff. And yeah, of course he didn't, because he knew better. And he shows up and he's like, "Okay, I'm ready to take the test. Do I get my CCW at the end of this test?" And I go, "Bro, I told you already, this is the step one of like 7. He's like, "Well, you told me I'd get I said, "I told you you'd get a certificate, which would allow you to buy a gun." I said, "A CCW is so far above your knowledge level right now that you don't even worry about it. Just worry about this step 1. And he was legitimately upset. And I said, I emailed the guy.
Like it was your fault.
Oh yeah, I'm the one that's keeping him from his right to own. And I'm like, "Dude, look, I'm happy to give you the test. I'm happy to put you in touch with the instructor. I'll sign your paperwork. We'll get your packet pulled up and we'll send it over to the sheriff for you, whatever you want to do. But like, I told you to read." And people just don't want to read, and then the same people that were against guns, that when things went bad, expected to be able to come into the store and just buy one like they were getting a stick of gum.
That was some of the funniest shit ever, man.
What do you mean I got to show my ID? What do you mean I got to have my birth certificate? What do you mean? You cocksuckers are the ones that voted for this stuff. You should be happy.
And they thought that buying a gun was easier than voting.
Yeah, oh man, just to watch the smug look just fall right off their face. And it's like, and you knew who they were when they rolled up. If you roll up to a gun store in a Prius, I immediately judge you. I already, judgment started. So I don't know. But if this thing's taught me anything, it's that I'm glad I've done things the way that I've done it. I'm sure you're happy that you've done things the way you've done it, but you can't teach people. I mean, you can tell you're blue in the face, but until they understand, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to change their opinions. So
right.
I don't know.
I got a dog that's giving me fits, and I say we call this tonight.
Yeah.
Let's pick it back up. And I think we ought to have a guest on next time.
I think so. I'm trying to get Max, Fallout Prop Guy, wants to come on. He's got a lot of funny stuff to say. I tried to get I was talking to that gal, she goes on Instagram, Sarah Bakersmith or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, "Come on, man." I was like, we need to get you on the show. And she's like, "Fuck you." I'm not on that show. She don't want to.
Jerry from Triple Feed, he's agreed to be on. I just told him I wanted to refine it a little bit more before we actually had anybody of real importance and notoriety.
Well, I don't know if anybody's ever really took the time to think about it, but just remind people, we do this out of the fun of it, being able to chat with each other. And I'm on a laptop. We don't have any professional recording equipment here. I'm in my office at home, and if we get a big, more people to follow, and we can get some cool people on and stuff. But like I said, I hope people enjoy it. I enjoy trying to at least get together and talk about some of these topics and get some
Well,
perspective.
and right now we're just ironing out the kinks. I mean, we jumped into this head first without knowing anything about it. And, we'll get some more people on, and
Yeah,
have a
we'll
good
do
time.
it. Well, all right, buddy. Good talking to you, and I'll see you next week for the next one.